Welcome to the Forsyth Magazines podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Color, bringing you the stories of the people shaping our community. From business owners to local leaders, we'll explore their journeys, passions, and lessons learned. Let's dive in. Hey guys, we are back with another podcast episode, and today I have Tyler Shelton with Shelton Movement and Performance. What's up, Tyler?
How's it going?
It's going good.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm so excited to have Tyler here. Tyler is the PT in the same building as our gym, and you've been there pretty much since the gym opened.
Yeah, y'all opened in
22
October.
Yeah.
I think I showed up January, February.
Yeah, very soon after.
Not long after.
Yeah. And Tyler has been helping me with my back injury these last few, it feels like months and months and months, but it's really only been like 2 months. And he has been a flippin' lifesaver. And so I'm so excited to chat with him about different reasons for pain and what people can do and just all the things about pain. Because I think if you haven't experienced some sort of back pain or just pain in general yet, your time is coming. It will happen. I thought it wouldn't happen to me because I'm, fit and healthy and blah, 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 blah. But it does.
I think 85% of the world's population.
I'm surprised it's not 95%.
Well, that's self-reported.
I was going to say,
so,
the other 15% are lying.
Yeah, just being too tough.
Yeah, that's right. So, Tyler, tell us a little bit about just Shelton Movement and Performance, what you do, what got you into physical therapy.
Yeah. I've been in business for about 7 years for myself. I just kind of briefly, decided early on that I thought that was going to be the route that I was going to take. Mostly because I wanted to do a style of assessment that I just didn't see an avenue for working for anybody else. I had a couple of friends who already had clinics. When I graduated, they were nice enough to let me work for them, and I kind of worked my way until I felt like I was good enough to go out on my own, to where I could do the style of assessment. And that kind of piggybacks onto what got me into PT. Or really what got me into this style of PT, I suppose I should say, was I was seeing when I was in just like a regular outpatient clinic, which a lot of people have been to. If you have like a knee replacement or shoulder surgery, you see you got your bands and your pink weights and everything. And I don't mean to diminish what they do, because people who just had surgery, absolutely need that, and it's super helpful, and those facilities have it locked in. But where I was seeing problems was diagnosing particular issues. If you came off the street and said, hey, my shoulder's been hurting for months and I can't seem to figure out what's going on. It didn't seem like there was really a framework for figuring that out. We do our best with what we learned in school and picked up in different courses here or there, but it just really we're taking a look at everything. And so I found this style of assessment. It was called the SFMA. And it had this revolutionary idea of, why don't we look at the whole body and see how it moves together instead of one thing at a time. And that way we might find something, for instance, if you have all the mobility in the world at all of your joints, but I see you squat and you have one leg that just turns all the way in on your way down and your other knee is hurting. Well, that's probably relevant. But if you come into me with a left knee issue and I look at your left knee, your hip, your ankle, and nothing's really going on, and I completely miss that other leg, that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
And so that's like a really short, simple example of what I wanted to look at. And then on a broader spectrum, I think what we'll talk about more today is the back pain side of things. And that frankly, it takes time that you can't really serve if you're juggling multiple patients at the same time, and you're not able to kind of set your own schedule by those people. So that's what got me into this style of PT, I suppose. Yeah,
I went to Tyler, I don't know, a couple months ago for the first time, and was having back pain, bad back pain, and he was so patient. And so the thing that stuck with me the most is that we figured out positions for me to get in that made me pain-free, which sounds really obvious. But when you've never experienced back pain, you just I was just in a complete panic and didn't really know what to do. So to have somebody walk you through okay, does this make it hurt? Does this make it feel better? If this makes it feel better, this is the position you need to be in.
It was empowering too, right?
Yeah.
You get to, and that's one of the things that I love. It's not always possible, but if you're just in agony all the time, and I can go, hey, but look at how you have control over this. If you just
Yeah.
go and do this, and the pain melts away, and it may come right back when you stand back up. We'll deal with that later. But you're in a lot of pain. You have this safety net
Yeah.
because a lot of people do end up needing to rely on physical therapists, chiropractors, massage therapists, all good professions. But if you're reliant on their treatments to make yourself feel better, you don't have as much control as we would like to, especially if you have something that's chronic. You took care of yours relatively quickly. Not to say that wasn't bad, but on the spectrum, if you're coming into me and it's been years and you just can't figure anything out, and I can just show you, hey, if we do this and it makes you feel better,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be great if we could start winding it down? And all of a sudden the light bulb goes off and people are like, oh my gosh, for the first time in years, I have control over this issue.
Yeah.
And I'd much rather send a patient out the door with that being the case than saying like, all right, well, you're going to need me, for the rest of your life.
Forever.
Buckle up, it's every time you're feeling pain. And again, I'm not knocking anybody who that's the style of treatment.
For sure.
It's just, I've found it to be, like I said, a lot more empowering for people to be able to show them how to take the reins on that thing.
Yeah.
So that if they're on vacation.
And I think that nothing is wrong. There's a time and a place for like pain meds and stuff. But for me personally, I just don't. I want to not take medicine if I can help it, because I want to feel the pain that I'm in and know what I have to do to get out of pain.
Yeah.
Because if I'm constantly taking, medicine to make the pain go away, my personality is I'm going to be doing stuff that I have no business doing because the meds are masking the pain.
I saw a commercial that always makes me laugh. It was a pain medication commercial, and it had the tagline. It was like, "What pain?" And they'd go do like a backflip off of a cliff. And
No.
maybe you shouldn't be doing that backflip off that cliff if you have a ton of pain. But that's just me being a bummer, I guess.
That's funny. I saw a thing recently, and I think Gavin may have sent it to me, but it said any exercise can be a back exercise if you do it wrong enough. I was like, thanks, babe.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. He's not wrong. It's I think the Michael Jordan of powerlifting, and I'm blanking on his name, but I'll come up with it eventually. He once said that anybody can lift a lot of weight a few times. You could do it,
but are you doing it the right way?
How much time can you do? Ed Cohen.
And I realized the one time that mine slipped at Washington Park CrossFit.
Yeah.
2020 Hollywood. So the first time that one slipped off and I jerked it back up, and I was fine then, but that for the next 2 weeks, remember, I was having some
it doesn't
things.
take much to you got to be. And I used to get so aggravated with like when people would like comment on my social media, like when I was doing lifts, like, oh, be careful, you're gonna hurt your back, and I would be like, oh my god, like I'm fine, I know what I'm doing. Here I am.
Well, there's a stigma around lifting weights in general, but lifting heavy weights, and it's something I have a lot of my patients do. Kind of unrelated, I also have a certification to work on people with osteoporosis, and one of the tried and true facts of just biology in general is if you stress bone, it will build bone. If you leave bone alone, it'll basically eat it away.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the best ways to build that bone if you have osteoporosis, osteopenia, is to pick up heavy things. But if you're 60, 65 years old and finding out that you have osteoporosis for the first time, some kid's telling you, hey, we need to pick up heavy things, you're gonna be like, yeah, right. There's no way. And so those people have to earn the right. It takes them a year, maybe longer, to be able to pick up weight that is substantial enough for you to be able to actually build up bone density, because it has to be like roughly 80% of your 1 rep max. So if you can only lift 100 pounds, you know, how many times are you going to lift 80 pounds before your back gives out on you, or your knee gives out on you, something?
Well, and just like doing it smart, like building in weight smart, like using the right muscles. I think that's something that I've really been forced to learn, is that you got to use the right muscles to lift, like your glutes, your core. There's just so much to it.
Boring, isn't it?
It's so boring.
Yeah.
Me and Nikki were talking about the other day that the movements I'm able to do right now, which I'm very grateful for, because weeks ago I wasn't able to do anything.
Sure.
Couldn't even get out of bed hardly. But they're just so boring.
Yeah.
They're not fun.
Yeah.
But that's okay. They're going to make me strong, and they're going to get me to where I want to be.
Yeah. Well, nobody's ever come into me and it's like, you know what I'm having so much fun doing is PT exercises. Yeah.
And pull-ups.
It's great. I just enjoy it so much.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, you know, we spend enough time building up that that tolerance. And
Yeah. What's a misconception that you feel like you're constantly dealing with that people have about physical therapy?
Wow, a lot. I'll do one for, well, I guess this goes across the board. Anytime somebody has an issue with a joint, like say it's your shoulder or your back, people say, well, you need to strengthen the muscles around that joint. Okay, fine. Let's go talk to a power lifter.
Yeah.
Or a football player. And they must not have any pain, right? If that's the case,
Yeah.
and those people must be completely pain-free all the time. Obviously, that's ridiculous. A lot of them are in pain all the time. So it's not.
And they're strong.
Yeah. They're
insanely
human
strong.
freaks. They are stronger than I will ever be, and not be in pain at the same time. So I'm not saying that strength isn't important, but it's not the only thing. I think a lot of times that gets misrepresented, and it should be stability. But even that, it just. Everybody's issue is for a specific reason. And I understand, especially online, the desire to put a blanket on everything and say like, okay, you do these 3 exercises, you'll have a bulletproof back, or you'll do this and you have bulletproof knees. But it just doesn't exist. You have to assess the individual and find out what it is exactly that's going on. Any asymmetries, are there mobility issues, or is their mobility fine? They just have a hard time controlling it.
Yeah.
And I find way more often than not, the mobility stuff is not as prevalent as the control side of things. So somebody might have great hip mobility. I saw this yesterday, great hip mobility, but can't control the hip for anything. So it takes their spine along for the ride. And so if I'm using this, I've got my hip here. You want that hip to be able to move independently.
Yeah.
But if it's not, it's locked into this pelvis. And now we've just got spine motion.
Yeah.
So let's say we have some angry facets or maybe some nerve issues, and that hip is taking the spine along for a ride. Well, you're pushing on these irritated structures over and over again.
Yeah. On movements that shouldn't even be using that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where an exercise that is corrective and says, hey, here's how we separate the two, and train the body to do that without you having to think about it, can be valuable. But if that person has just a completely stiff hip that is degenerated and there's no,
I think that's the time-consuming part is training your body to do it without having to think about it.
Yeah, and that's the part that people,
they give up on and they get frustrated with
very
I'm
quickly.
Sure.
And that's why I love the word. I'm going to nerd out on this, but I love the word training as opposed to exercise. Exercise is just I'm just going and doing stuff.
Yeah.
But training, you're a good example of this. You now have specific movements, specific form that you have to think about while you're exercising.
Yeah, it's so hard
So
on my little brain.
Exactly. So that you can earn the right to challenge yourself and get what you want out of CrossFit or whatever. But you have to earn the right to do that, because if you don't, you've kind of felt the flip side of that and what happens. And I do think that a lot of people take shortcuts in that, understandably so. And it's not always as progressed as where people are, okay, let's do some squats and let's figure that out. Sometimes you do have to spend some time just on the ground doing bird dogs or whatever it is, just giving your body as much of a chance to be successful with that movement before we move on to something that's a little bit more challenging for your body to handle.
Dead bugs.
Yeah,
Tim loves dead bugs.
Dead bugs are fun.
I don't mind dead bugs, actually.
Yeah.
Dead bugs are a great
You
example.
didn't hear that from me. if she knows I like something, she stops letting me do it.
Yeah.
I've not done a ring row in so long.
Oh, it's not fun to watch you be happy while you're exercising. You're
Yeah,
supposed
we gotta
to
make
suffer.
it. We gotta make it a little bit suffery, just
Yeah.
a little bit.
But I mean, the dead bugs are a great example. I give out dead bugs a slightly modified version than what people think about. But think about how if I'm trying to keep your spine still, and again, I'm moving that hip, if I come all the way up here and then start to lower down and your spine starts to arch a little bit, so now it's pelvic motion instead of just your leg moving. You see how some people say like, well, the dead bugs hurt your back. Well, the dead bugs hurt your back because you don't have the integrity around that spine to hold your spine in place. But
And I would recommend for anyone just listening to the podcast, you need to see the video so you can see what
you can find it on YouTube.
There are visual tools here that he is using.
He brought his spine with him.
my last unruly patient that didn't listen to me, so we've got disc bulges and everything.
Oh my gosh. So Tyler, what is something I want to ask for me first, and then you can talk about patients in general, but what's something that you think I did to help my recovery be a little faster than it could have been.
Yeah. So you followed the rules that were set out for you, and they're very simple rules.
You hear that, Gavin? I can follow rules.
they're very simple rules. Well, I wasn't going to throw you under the bus. There were a couple of mornings where I got distress calls, but
I did get some distress calls. Tyler, do I need to go to the hospital?
Yeah.
It hurts so bad.
And that's where, again, not to beat this point to death, but that's where the empowerment comes from, because all I really have to say is like, hey, nope, remember, go do this.
Get in your position.
I know it sucks to move around right now, but we'll get back to that. Calm it down.
Yeah.
But you followed the rules, which were if you're in pain, make it go away.
Yeah.
And while you're moving, move in ways that make sure you're not provoking that pain. We talk about picking the scab a lot as the analogy that I use. If you just sit there and constantly pick a scab all day, every day,
it's never going to heal.
Never going to heal.
Ever.
And people come into me and say, I've been in pain for years. I have chronic back issues. And I have beef with that term, because, and it's not to say that chronic changes don't happen physiologically when you've had something for a long time. There's nothing chronic about it. You continue to acutely inflame the same issue over and over again. You wouldn't go to somebody with a scab that's super irritated and pussy and just nasty and go like, I have a chronic skin condition here, and you're sitting there picking it.
But your chronic skin condition is you.
It is your fault.
That's what we do for everything. It's what we do for our backs. It's what we do for our shoulders, our knees. I have this chronic issue. Yeah. Well, you don't. You have a repeated acute flare-up of that thing. And as soon as we can identify what that is, which is the thing that most people are missing, as soon as we can identify what that is, reverse engineering it is not that difficult. And so in your case, you were able to follow the rules of how to move. I think bending over was particularly difficult for you. And so we made sure that you could do that without your spine bending forward, which was a problem.
Yeah.
And then, obviously we found a couple of things that were specific to you where you were trying certain things that you thought were supposed to help you, but they were hurting. We figured out what was going on. We said, okay, here's why that's not working. We need to do this instead to make sure that you're able to feel comfortable as you're rehabbing.
Yeah.
And again, I can't overstate this enough. It doesn't always exist for people. Sometimes we have to take what we can get, but by simply removing that physical trigger for most people and then making sure that you're not picking or provoking that scab during the day, you can heal fairly quickly. Quickly is a loose term there, but you can make consistent progress.
It's been, for me, it was just a total mindset shift, because when you've never dealt with any sort of injury before, you're just so used to moving the way that you move, bending over, sitting down, standing up, and not that it was wrong, but it was doing it in a way that was aggravating my back every single time I was doing these movements that are just how I've always done them. Yeah. And so the mental portion of that, of just being really hyper aware. Retraining my mind.
So we're training again.
Yeah. It's been very humbling.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. It definitely does take some conscious effort at first, but over time, we're rebuilding engrams in your brain. Yeah. So I want your brain to go to the library of movements and be like, this one, I like this one the best. It's not gonna do that at first. Yeah. You get used to that.
Yeah, it's just I see people in the gym all the time who they come in their first day and they're frustrated that they can't instantly do a skill, and I'm like, well, that's because it takes time. Yeah. You got to be patient. It takes, to build up that strength and to build up that muscle memory for these movements. And it takes a lot of time. And I think that's where most people get frustrated and give up too quickly, is they're just not willing to be patient enough.
Well, it kind of speaks to the path that a lot of the weightlifters in the gym have taken. Because most of the ones that I've talked to, I think we've talked about this, but most of the ones that I've talked to will tell me I went and did CrossFit for a little bit, realized that the Olympic lifts were really complicated, so I wanted to focus on that for a little bit and just fell in love with lifting. Yeah. And that's great. I love that as a movement nerd. I'm like, yes, you wanted to master your form. That's so great. And now most of them are picking up, twice their body weight and doing all kinds of crazy stuff that
it's true, because there's a lot of there's of course some coaches in the world that are bad and that teach people, not on purpose, but teach people the improper way to move. Sure. But to really force yourself to start from the foundation really and just really master perfect form on these basic movements that you've been doing for years is, I think, good for anybody at any level.
Those chickens come home to roost. I don't ever want to sit back and be like, told you so. I really genuinely don't do that. But if I see somebody moving incorrectly that just refuses to change it. In my mind,
I tried to warn you.
There's a clock that's counting down. And again, I'm never rooting to be right. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes people are genetically blessed or have been able to drive the adaptation that's necessary, but more often than not, there's trouble.
Well, and age plays a factor, I'm sure too. Like the longer your spine has been slowly.
Yeah. Even if you've managed to get through life without any injuries to your spine, that's true. But most people, there's an increasing number of or percentage of people as you age that have disc bulges, things like that are completely unaware of it. Don't know that they don't have any pain, don't know that it's there. But the rules are definitely different for a virgin spine versus somebody that has any type of injury, whether you feel pain or not.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So do you have to, Brooke, do you have to handle old people like me different whenever you're working with me?
Not different. I mean, honestly, it's been a really good coaching experience for me working with you because it's like I'm so proud to teach you from the basic foundations. So I know that nobody's teaching you the wrong way to do things.
Right.
Because that's how you get set up for failure when people are unintentionally teaching you the wrong way to move.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they allow you to do it that way.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't teach you how to do it, but they don't try to correct you when you don't do it right.
That's a good point too. And I find that in coaching and as an athlete, I've kind of shifted my mindset to where a few years ago, my main goal was like, okay, I want to finish this workout as fast as possible. And, no standard of movement, like keep the standard of movement, of course, but like much more worried about how fast I'm doing it than the quality of the movement. Sure. And the older I get, it's just not, to me, doing it correctly is so much more important than how fast you're doing it.
I think people figured that out through injury, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But to not have an injury and get there at the same time is super valuable.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so we talked a little bit about strength training, and I know we both have a passion for that because it is so important for building muscle. What are how do we fit strength training into injury prevention? Like, what would be your recommendation for a client who's like just hasn't really lifted at all and doesn't know where to start?
Yeah, so I'll take it back to my osteoporosis people. And if anybody wants to look it up, there's a study that was done out of, I believe, Australia, called the Lift More study. And they took, I was looking at it this morning, they took, I want to say 400 some people who had osteopenia or osteoporosis. And although it's well known, it's called Wolff's Law, the whole like stress bone to build it. Don't stress it to break it down, essentially. Although that's well known, the literature has not necessarily been able to prove that, hey, when you lift heavy, your bone density will improve, because to do that, you have to take people that have basically never lifted before and ask them to lift. And that's a non-starter right out the gate for a lot of people because it's scary, but also at the same time, that's going to take years and years and years.
Yeah. So
what we do is we bring people in kind of regardless of their background and say, okay, you've never lifted, more than likely you've never lifted before. You have to get the technique right first. So we're not touching a weight. We're not doing anything until you can consistently show me that you know how to hinge, that you know how to squat without hurting yourself. And then there's some overhead pressing, a couple other things.
Yeah.
And as we build that up, start to slowly add weights so that your tendons and your muscles and your ligaments and everything can catch up, because people will notice when they make these giant leaps into it, they feel great right off the bat. But then the longer they're there, like they start to develop these tendinoses and different things that are just nagging injuries. And starts off this cascade of like, oh, my elbow hurts, so I can't do this. Now my shoulder hurts, and now my knee hurts, and now this, and it's just constantly going through this loop.
Yeah.
So trying to build people up the right way, the boring, not sexy way is just stay basic. It's going to take a while. You have to be consistent.
Yeah.
It's the really boring stuff that gets you there, though.
I like that.
So for injured people, it can be the same. It's hey, you need to, like I was talking about earlier, you need to earn the right to put a bar on your back. You need to be able to show me that you can do this movement and then do it consistently with load on your back, and then do it consistently again while you're on one foot or stepping up onto a box or jumping down.
Yeah.
However, whatever you're doing, your spine is organized the exact same way every single time.
Yeah.
So we're not putting stress on what was injured previously.
Yeah.
Even if it's feeling better, remember the virgin spine and the injured spine have different rules. We don't want to give your body any more reason to create that injury again than we have to. So,
And I know you're a big fan of prescribing your patients lots of walking. Which is great. I'm a big walking fan.
it's the scientific answer is it depends. Everything depends,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
for
yeah.
certain people, terrible idea.
Okay.
But for disc issues, things like that, one of the best things
Yeah.
that you can do.
Yeah. He's like, okay, we're walking 3 times a day at least for 30 minutes. And I'm like, I can do that.
Yeah, it's fun. Again, to go back to the respite stuff, it just, if it helps make you feel better within reason, usually your body's not lying to you. I'd say stretching is the one part of that that's a little bit of a misnomer, but
Yeah.
walking, certain stability drills, certain positions, if those feel good, they usually are good.
Yeah.
And so
I thought it was interesting what you were telling me the other day about stretching. And can you talk about that for a minute? The sensation that you feel when you're stretching a muscle and what it is actually doing.
yeah, so again, it depends. But look at this at its base. If you have a muscle, let's forget about the back for a second. Let's say your bicep is torn.
Ooh.
And because of that, every morning you wake up and you're just like, oh gosh, I can hardly straighten my elbow out. And then somebody says, all right, well, to fix that, go pull on it. So imagine I rip my shirt and I say, to fix that, I'm going to pull on it this way. Right? It doesn't make a lot of sense.
No.
And so that's not what stretching does in every single situation. But if you have a muscle that is irritated, going and pulling on it, usually not what you want to do, even though in a lot of cases, you're going to get that, oh my God, right there. That feels so good.
Yeah.
Like that sensation that you're actually doing something to help that area out.
Interesting. That's so interesting.
And so as far as the back is concerned, it's a little bit more technical. I'll try not to bore people, but it's called the stretch reflex. You can look it up. And basically what's happening is you go and pull on an area that provides a temporary amount of stability for that lower back, which makes you feel better. So you go and yank on it, feels better for about 15, 20 minutes, then it feels worse. And then you do it again, then it feels worse again. And you're creating this loop that you can't really break out of and people will kind of like crack their own back from time to just like constantly pulling on their back and moving it. And you're jonesing for that stiffness that is being created, but it's not lasting. And you're desensitizing yourself to that stimulus, all kinds of negative things that are going on. Whereas if I can just create stiffness in that area, like, hey, what about this? What if we do X, Y, and Z, stiffens this up a little bit. Now you're moving around, you feel better. It's not that big of a deal. But people will still be like, yeah, but it doesn't feel as good as pulling on it. Even though they're completely pain-free, they want to feel that just like stretching, pulling sensation.
Yeah.
But there have been a lot of people who are just stretching the hell out of their backs that I come in and say, hey, if you stop doing that, you'll immediately start feeling better. And sure enough, it just after a couple of days of not doing that, they start to feel better.
That's so interesting.
Again, everything is everything has a specific context.
Sure.
That's not a.
So, okay, as we're wrapping things up, what is one thing that you think people should stop doing immediately if they want to keep moving well as they age?
One thing I would say pushing through pain is silly. And I know it's a very human thing to do. I think most of us
tough it out.
Yeah, tough it out. If you're on the 1 yard line and there's a Super Bowl victory ahead of you, if you just push through a little bit of pain to get there, sure. By all means, absolutely do that.
But typically that's not the case.
But most of us out there who aren't competing for anything, who aren't we want to be strong enough. We want to be loose enough. There's no free lunch in biology. You can't have both. You can't enter a powerlifting contest and go straight from there and master yoga that day. And on the flip side of that, I would never put a yoga enthusiast under a super heavy bar right after a yoga class. You're stretching and loosening all these things and then asking them to be stiff.
Yeah.
And so most of us want to sit right there in the middle where I can be mobile, I can get on the floor with my kids or my grandkids, I can, pick them up, I can be an active contributing member of society. And that just doesn't require putting yourself through so much pain to get to that point. So
Yeah.
I'll be brief with this, but I have a patient who's looking for all of these corrective exercises for a bunch of different issues in their neck, their back, I think their knee, and they had this like 45-minute routine. They said, if I do all of this, I'll usually feel better, but I also swim, and that keeps me comfortable and active. And when we were doing the assessment, this big long 3-hour thing, we were trying to figure out what triggered her pain. She really wasn't in any pain unless she did very specific things. And if she did those specific things, all we needed to do was lay in a particular position. It took all 3 of her spine-related issues away within a couple of seconds.
Wow.
And then she got back up. I was like, now is it back? No, it's still gone. I feel fine. Okay, continue to move around. Let's do a couple of things to provoke it. Oh, yep, it's there again. Okay, so that's consistency. Let's go lay down at the end. That feels better? Great. And so by the end of all of that, she was like, so what does my exercise routine need to be? And I was like, I don't really think you need it.
Yeah.
It's you're chancing irritating it with some of these exercises that you really don't need. And I'm not saying don't exercise at all, but she's doing some osteoporosis training with me, so we'll cover it on that base. You're doing your swimming at home on your own.
Yeah.
Do what you enjoy that gets you to move.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do all this extra stuff to keep yourself from aging. And she was spending 45 minutes a day when she had a chance to marginally have an effect on these issues that all she had to do was lay down for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
You're not gonna turn to mush laying down for a couple seconds every day, as opposed to having to strength train for 45 minutes.
I think that's such a great answer. I think one of my best friends always says, she's like, at our age, the ripe age of 35, 36, the goal is to be able to work out the next day.
Sure.
Like the goal is not to push as hard as you can and like win the workout and all the things. Like the goal is to be able to work out the next day and the next day and the next day.
Well, and that's why I ask a bunch of, somebody that's in CrossFit or somewhere else, because this is common that comes up. They're like, I have to be able to get my thighs to parallel. I have to get to 90 degrees. And I'll just simply ask, why?
Yeah.
And nobody can answer that question. Oh, well, because that's what I'm supposed to. Well, it's not what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because your hips don't get that low, and your back.
Hips don't lie.
Yeah, and your hips don't lie. And your back.
You know
starts
who
to
has
round when
good
you get
mobility is Tim over here. That man can squat.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would have never thought that about me.
It is interesting. It's so individualized though.
Everybody's different.
Everybody is very different.
Yeah.
Your femur length, your arm length, like everybody is just, it has to be individualized.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about you and your business model, is that you take everything in such an individualized manner. It is not a one size fits all.
Yeah, I think you have to be successful. It's my big message to everybody is stop treating the symptoms. Pain is a symptom. It's your check engine light. If all I'm doing is again,
people get used to ignoring the check engine light.
Yeah,
though.
and all of these great services that work on treating the pain. I'm not saying that they're bad, but are we really trying to solve this problem, or do you just want the pain to go away? Because those are two separate things. And if you're just trying to make the pain go away, great, you can do that a lot of different ways. But if you want it to be a lasting result, you got to figure out what's picking that scab. You got to figure out what's causing that check engine light to come on.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do. That's what I dig down into, is the details of what exactly is causing the symptoms here.
Well, we are running out of time. I could talk to you forever.
I know.
But Tyler, tell us how we can get in touch with you. I assume you are taking patients.
Yep.
Okay.
Summer's a good time for me to get some new people on board. My website is sheltonmp.com. Shelton, M as in movement, P as in performance.com.
Okay.
And then this is risky, but I give out my cell to pretty much everybody I see. So 336-306-2831. You're not going to get a robot. You're going to get me picking up the phone. That's how I like to do it.
Awesome.
And that's the easiest way to communicate with me. Shoot me a text, say, hey, I heard you on the podcast. Would love to talk to you some more. I'm very easy to get a hold of. Like to think I'm not pushy. I just want to talk to you about what's going on.
Yeah.
If the solution's not me, great. I'll help you find one that is.
Awesome. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for coming and chatting with me, and thank you so much for getting me and my back on track.
You're very welcome. You've made my job easy.
All right, guys, you can always find all of our Forsyth Mags content online at forsythmags.com and on Instagram and Facebook at Forsyth Mags. And that is a wrap for today. Thanks, y'all. The views and opinions stated on this podcast are solely those of the contributors and not necessarily those of our distributors or hosting companies. This podcast is copyrighted and cannot be reproduced without expressed written consent of Forsyth Magazines Incorporated. Whew, that's a mouthful.